Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to animation recreation part. I have no idea what part it is. First of all, I want to welcome you guys into this animation recreation. We are going to be making something absolutely amazing, okay? Unfortunately, you guys are probably not going to be seeing my face in this one because the camera isn't available for this one. However, I'm still going to make sure that you guys go through this tutorial and get to learn a really high quality animation that you guys are going to be able to recreate on your own terms, reuse in later videos, and so on and so forth. This specific animation, I got this from my own video. I've made this in the past, and I really wanted to make sure that I teach this to you guys because it's such a high quality one, okay? So for this animation recreation, we're going with a bit more of a technological or advanced or cyber-esque look. We're going for something a bit more kind of futuristic. And the 3 scene setup we're going to have is scene 1, we're just going to have a pop-up on the right side like this. Scene 2, a pop-up on the left side, and scene 3, we're going to have a box in the middle with a 3D object rotating in the middle and then some text on it and just going to make it look really cool. So the reason this is going to be so special and it's going to teach you a lot is that we're actually going to be using this technique, which is a new technique you guys haven't been taught yet, to make these very high quality bubbles with the icon inside of it. And we're also going to be using a special technique to create a reflection at the bottom. And then we're also going to be using a very special technique to make a very high quality box and a very high quality 3D scene setup. So this, all in all, if you guys want to see the full animation, you could check it down below under the course. But all in all, this is going to teach you, number one, a lot of concepts. Number two, it's going to make you a very high quality animation that you can reuse in the future. So this being said, let's dive right in. So first of all, we got to get started on the background. You guys have done at this point so many different backgrounds. So we're just going to add in a solid. We're going to go pretty quickly through this. We're going to add a 4-color gradient, put the points on the edges just to get a better result. And then we're going to go with a black theme for the whole thing. So select the black color and just use the eyedropper tool to select that color all throughout. All right, so far so good. Just a solid with the 4-color gradient. Now let's go ahead and randomize this a bit more. So we're going to choose one of the colors and make it slightly lighter. Remember, we're going with a dark background, so keep the colors dark. And since I'm going with the blue theme, I'm just going to make this like top right corner a bit of a dark blue. I'm going to make the bottom left corner here maybe a light grayish blue like this, and then the bottom right corner can just be like a light gray or a dark blue, and that looks awesome. And then we could just bump up the blend to 200 and we'll be good to go. Awesome. So now we've got a very high quality background. We can get to work on the first part of the animation. The first part of the animation is obviously these circles here. The way we're going to do this is we're going to create this entire scene in a 3D scene. So we're going to create this final scene in a 3D scene, and then we're going to add in our camera and finally use it to highlight different aspects. And you guys will see exactly how we do this. So you might be wondering, Joseph, how do we make those really cool looking circles? Check it out. First, we obviously need a circle, so we're adding in a shape layer. By the way, I'm going to cut my animation somewhere around 8 seconds because I want it to be 8 seconds long. We're going to do 2 seconds for the first pop-up, 2 seconds for the second pop-up, and then 4 seconds for the final scene. So we added in a shape layer, and we're just going to draw in an ellipse tool like this by holding down Shift to make it a perfect ellipse. Oops, that's not what we meant to do. That's good. And then we're just going to make sure it's somewhere like near the center. That's going to be good enough. Now, the way that we get really high quality and cool circles is this is a technique that you can use throughout all of After Effects in the future. You just click on your fill over here. Obviously, you guys know if you click on the fill color, you can change the color of the shape layer. If you click on the fill, you could change the fill options, and you can make it either no fill, or linear gradient or radial gradient. Okay. Now, if we click on radial gradient, so the difference between linear gradient and radial gradient is both of them rely on a gradient, which is just 2 points of colors and transition in between. A linear gradient does it from one point to the other. A radial gradient does it from a center to the outside, which is just going to look a lot better. Now, if we click on the color, it's a bit different. You've got 2 nodes in the bottom, you have a gradient line, 2 nodes at the top, and you have a bunch of colors down here. You also have 2 points over here. This is point 1 and this is point 2. You guys can move these around. What these are is this first point is the first color of the gradient, and this second point is the second color of the gradient. And by changing them, you can alternate how far they are or how close they are and what kind of results you can get. And you can make some pretty cool circles with this. I mean, you could use this basically everywhere. So let's go ahead and make this. Since we're going with a light blue circle, I'll teach you guys exactly how you do this. So color 1 affects the first color of the point. So if I click on this color 1 and I change it to white, you guys can see it's going to go to white. And if I click on color 2 and change it to like black, it's going to go from white to black. You guys can see that, right? So we're going to make color 2 maybe a light blue like this. something like this is pretty good. Remember, don't go for extremes. Let's go for something like this, and we're gonna make the end a dark black. That's for sure. We're gonna make it a pitch black, like a completely dark black. So by doing this, we basically end up with this kind of really cool look. And if you guys want access to these 2 points, again, just click on your ellipse path or your gradient fill, and you guys are going to see it. So now the way that we make this look really special is if we place the center somewhere like on this edge, and then we move this point all the way back, you guys can see we get just one side that gets highlighted. And now if I move my first point here, like closer to the edge, like this, right? Now all of a sudden this highlight looks really, really high quality. Now this is still too strong, so to tone it down, I'm gonna click on my color and check out this cool trick that you could do. You just move the black color closer. So the black color takes up even more space. I'm gonna move it up to here, and check this out. If I bring this closer now, I have a very strong highlight on the right side, and it looks like a 3D ball, doesn't it? That's why this effect is so cool. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to be starting off with. We're going to select our shape layer. We're going to take our gradient fill. We're going to go from a black to a blue like this, and then we're just going to make the blue maybe here. Here is good, right? So it's just kind of highlights the right side. That looks awesome. Now we're not just going to go with one color. We're going to go with a few colors, but the first thing I'm going to do is click on toggle switches and modes, select this shape layer and change this to add. Now what this does is this completely eliminates the black colors, which is just going to make this look like an even better sphere. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually smoothen this out a bit more because it's really rough. So let's play around with this. I'm just going to extend this a bit longer like that. And I think this is good. This looks really high quality and I like this. So let's go ahead and roll with this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select this shape layer and we're going to duplicate it. So now we have a duplicate. Right, it's the exact same shape layer, just the exact same gradient. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our gradient, and now we can actually move this one over to this side too. So what you guys notice when I do this, right, now this creates a color on both sides, and this allows us to really stylize things very nicely. So for my second shape layer, I'm going to click on my fill, and instead of going with a blue, I'm probably going to go with something like a darker blue, like this. Okay, and we're generally going to go with like 3 colors. Because 3 colors is usually like the best kind of combination you can get. So I'm playing around with this until we kind of get a angle from the top over here, something pretty smooth. Yep, something like this looks awesome. And then finally we'll do this one more time. So we'll duplicate our shape layer. Then we're going to go down, we're going to click on the fill, and we're going to go, we went with a dark blue, we could go with a purple now. Right, so just select that second color and go with a purple. Like this. That's awesome. And then we're just going to go with go ahead and place it down here at the bottom and just make sure that it only appears at the bottom, nowhere at the top, like that. And that looks awesome. And there we go, guys. You get a very cool, high quality 3D sphere. And this looks super, super nice. Now you can keep playing around with these and make them look even better. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that this is a very high quality one. For shape layer 1, we're going to go with a light purple. So instead of this, let's just go for a more grayish purple. For some reason, this just looks a lot better. For shape layer 2, we're going to go with a more grayish blue as well. And shape layer 3, same concept. More of a grayish blue. Like that. And that just looks so much nicer, doesn't it? Now, one thing I don't like is that they do cut off pretty early. So I do want to quickly fix that. So we're going to go down here and we're going to make this one, for example. This one's good. This one cuts off early. So I'm just going to angle it to the left side a bit more. And then this one over here is pretty cool, but we also should probably bring it a bit closer, like this. I don't want any rough cuts. I just want to make sure that all of them are nice and smooth. And there we go. We end up with a very high quality, very, very cool looking sphere. Now, if you guys want to take this to the next level, you can even add some rotations to this, and you can make this look really, really cool. Like, if you want to keyframe the gradient, like start and end point, I'll show you how we could do this, right? This is a theory. We're not going to be doing this, but I'll just show you. Keyframe the gradient start and end point, and then just like have it like orient a tiny bit like this. If we do this, you get this kind of like almost like a living circle that changes its gradient. And although this one is very minimal, like this one's it's such a small movement, but let's just make the movement a bit more drastic so you guys can notice it. So let's just move it to the left side like this, right? This would look really cool if we did it to all three of them, right? Because now not just one is moving, but all three are moving. And this could look really, really high quality. Now, if you guys want to do this, go for it. We're not going to be doing it for this tutorial. I just want to keep it nice and simple for you guys. So that's going to be it for these shape layers. Now, this is how we make a very high quality bubble. To make sure that we don't lose any of these, we're going to keep like parent this one to the bottom shape layer, this shape layer to this one. This way they are all controlled by one of these shape layers, right? Nice and simple. And now to make this look even better, we just add a deep glow to it all. So you add a deep glow to these layers, and because they are very small layers, right, they are very light gradients, the glow is actually naturally going to be really good, and you don't need to change much about it. So you could, if you'd like, maybe add some chromatic aberration. I probably, yeah, that will look really nice. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're just going to copy this, paste it on the other two. There we go. Look how high quality that looks. I'm going to tone down the chromatic aberration maybe to 0.6. That just looks a lot better. Wow, that looks amazing, doesn't it? All right, let's go ahead and finalize this by adding in our icon. Before we do this, let's go ahead and make everything a 3D layer, right? The reason we want to do this, the reason we want them all to be 3D layers is because we're going to be using this in a 3D scene. Now, one thing you probably noticed, right? As soon as we made them 3D layers, we ran into some issues, right? With the gradient fill. So this is relatively new. I'm not sure why this happens. This is probably because we've set our 3D render to advanced, right? Yes, it's because it's advanced. If we set it to classic, we're going to be good to go. We just need to redo the chromatic aberration. So let's just make sure we fix that. So chromatic aberration here is too high, so let's do 0.3. Let's just do 0.3 on all of them, and let's just see what happens. If it's still high, we'll tone it down. Yep, it's still high, so let's do 0.1. Let's do 0.2 on this one. That should be a lot better, and there we go. That looks amazing. Now we can go ahead and, yeah, we can basically go ahead and do whatever we want now. So let's go ahead and add in our icon into this just to make sure that we have a pretty cool, you know, bubble. So we're going to go over to flat icon, and we're going to use two icons. So since we're going to have like a cube in the one in the middle, I'm thinking of just going with the same as our reference, like one that's a star and one that's a email. So let's just go with that. Let's go with one that's a message. So one of these is good. Yep, we could just go ahead and download this thing. Right, give it a moment. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and put all of these maybe in a folder for you guys. Probably not the icons because I want you guys to download your own icons too, but I'll definitely send you guys the the project file. All right, so let's go ahead and import this icon over into here, and then we're gonna like cut it up on 8 seconds. Just make sure everything is the same, and make sure it's a 3D layer. By the way, it's the first thing you should do. And now we're going to resize it. Clicking S, we're gonna resize it down until it's like, until it fits inside of that circle. And we also want to make sure that it's centered. So since our circle isn't centered, let's make sure we go to the bottom shape layer since everything is parented to that, and just make sure we center this thing, kind of like eyeball it. And there we go, we're good to go. Okay, and we're also going to be placing this under all three of these just to make sure that they are all going to be affecting it, not the other way around. So for this icon, I think it's still pretty big. Let's go with 30. Perfect. We're going to be adding a 4-color gradient as usual. Adding in a 4-color gradient, and we're going to go with the same kind of color scheme. So we're going to go with color 1, this one here. I'll show you guys what we do. So once we go with these same colors, it looks pretty simple. Now we're just going to make them way brighter. So we're going to go like a light color like this. So we're going to go, these two are going to be light like this, and then the last two are going to be dark. So this one's going to be dark here, and this one's going to be dark here. And there we go. That looks awesome. Amazing. Now there's one more thing that we could probably add that will make this look really good. We can even add like an inner glow on this thing to make it look really good. We can add a light sweep to make it look really good. There we go, a CC light sweep. You can add this on top of it. Put it over here in the center, you know, make the width bigger. Yeah, that just looks so much nicer. And then sweep intensity maybe 15. Yeah, that just looks super cool. And then we'll just go with like a purplish glow. Nice. And then the edge intensity, maybe 25. Nice. That looks amazing. And then we're just going to add a deep glow to it. We can't add a deep glow because this one is a icon. So we're going to add an adjustment layer. Place it on top. And then just add deep glow to it. Right. And there we go. It should be pretty good. Now I'm pretty sure you can track matte the adjustment layer to the email. And I'm pretty sure this works. I've never tried this though. Or maybe the other way around. Yeah, I don't know, never tried this. Probably I've seen it in a while back. But now we're just going to pre-compose these together. So we have the deep glow applied to that email. It is too strong, so we're going to tone it down to like 0.5. Yeah, even this is strong, 0.3. And then just bump this up to like 600. Okay, and there we go. We're good to go. Now just don't forget, you want to make sure that all of them are 3D layers. Okay, and awesome. With this being said, you've got your first one. We're going to just, parent the shape layer to the icon as well. And we're basically good to go. And we've got our first icon. There we go, that's complete. So now we're going to use our zoom out tool to kind of just zoom out of the frame a little bit. And we're going to move this over to the left side, okay? And we're going to go ahead and get started on making the second icon somewhere around this area here. And then we're going to make the center part, as we mentioned. So that's the first icon. Let's go ahead and get to work on the other one. To do this, it's super simple. We're just going to select all of these, Control D, move them up to the top, right? Move them forward over to the 2-second mark, because that's where our second one's going to appear. And then we're just going to select all of these since they're all parented by the pre-comp. Down here, we're going to click on P for position and move it to the right side, right? Let's just make sure that they are like both equidistant from these edges. Awesome. Now for the second one, I'm not going to change much about it. I'm just going to be changing the icon. So we're going to go over here and we're going to download another icon. Let's go with we could go with like an electric icon, or we could go with, let's go with a star icon like this. Let's see, which one do we like? Oops. I don't know. Let's just go with this one. Why not, right? Awesome, let's go ahead and download this. Perfect. And now we can just go ahead and get to work on this part. So we're going to add in that star icon. We're also going to size it down to the exact same size, which I believe is 30. And then we're basically just going to copy everything from here and then just paste it on this thing and then just delete this. And you will be good to go. All right. Now, one issue that we will run into is that because we've done this inside of a pre-composition, this will mean that everything inside the pre-composition changes, which means this first pre-composition changes as well. So we're going to undo everything we just did. And we're basically just going to add in our star icon outside and then recreate the same exact pre-composition. So add the star icon, cut it up over here, make it 30. And just place it over here. Like so. Make sure it's a 3D layer. And then in the 3D scene, we're going to place it over where our email is. So we're going to just make sure that it's got the same exact position. You could do this with values, but I'll just do it like this just because it's a lot easier. Awesome. And then we're just going to basically copy the exact same effects, paste them on there. And then we're just going to make sure that these are all correctly aligned. Right? Yes, they are. Awesome. Okay, and this looks good. And the light sweep as well. It's probably not on here in the middle. Maybe it is. And then we finally just need to add in our adjustment layer. So we're just going to copy that adjustment layer and paste it up here. And then we could just basically pre-compose both of these. Now let's delete that old pre-composition. And then let's make this one a 3D layer. And then let's place it under these. And you also need to realign it because now it is a 3D layer and needs to be realigned with your circle. So we're now going to bring it to the right side here until we can place it in the middle of our circle. Okay, and it's too small, so let's go ahead and just make it a bit bigger. It's very annoying, but we have to deal with this. Yeah, we definitely want to make it something like 140. Okay, 140 is too big. Maybe, oh sorry, 240. Let's go 200. Yeah, I think 200 is just enough. And maybe if we just kind of move it over to the center, should be around here. Okay, that should be pretty cool. Awesome. And there we go, we've got our two icons. So now let's just make sure this one is all parented to this one, so everything is controlled by this specific layer. Now great, there we go, we have our first two icons. Now before we get started on the last scene, let's go ahead and make the quick pop-up animation for both of these. Let's get started on this one here. So we're gonna just select all of these and close them down. Since everything is controlled by these two pre-compositions, I'm gonna click on P, and I'm gonna start with this one. So we're gonna keyframe the current position, move it forward by a lot, and just have it start like down here. Okay, then we're gonna go over to our speed graph, F9, bring this all the way back, bring this all the way back. Boom. Okay, let's give it a moment to render. It's gonna be very hard for our PC to render this because there's a lot of layers to be rendered. Well, I'll give this a second. Bam, we've got a nice smooth pop-in. Now we're gonna select all of them, keyframe the current opacity, click on U to see all of our keyframes, move the opacity forward and just have it start at 0. Amazing, love this. All right, check that out, that looks amazing. Bam, we have a very cool pop-up. Now we're gonna do the exact same thing for this thing. So once again, position, move it forward, have it start lower, somewhere like down here, have it start all the way back here, select both of these, start quick, slow down, as usual, and then select all of them, keyframe current transparency, move it all the way to the end, bring it back down to 0%, and just have it start in the beginning here, and there we go, we've got another cool pop-up. It's also going to be hard to render this one, because obviously there's a lot of layers with a lot of gradients. Give it a moment, and we should be good. Okay, there we go. Bam, nice pop-up. Okay, so there we go, we've got our first icon and second icon pop-up. I think both of these look absolutely amazing. They're just super high quality. I really like that. Awesome. Now that they both pop up, we can get to work on our final scene. And after we've worked on our final scene, because everything is a 3D layer, we'll add in the camera and everything is going to be put together. Now the final scene is where the magic is going to happen. So, excuse me, the final scene is where we've got this kind of like square in the middle, and then we have a 3D object in it, and then we have a bunch of titles and cool stuff like this. So there's 3 things to work on. Number 1, we need to work on the square. Number 2, the 3D object, and number 3 is the titles inside. So let's go ahead and do this, okay? And then we can work on the reflection and the camera movement. So first of all, to make the high quality square, we're gonna add in a shape layer as usual. And we're gonna go ahead and have it start here, and we're gonna just end it right here. Just wanna make sure that everything ends at the same time. Okay. All right, it should be okay. Now for this one, we're going to make sure it's a 3D layer first before we start doing anything. And then we're just going to bring it over to the right side. So the center of our screen is actually on the left side, but we're gonna bring it over to the right side here because it's according to our new camera. And we're just gonna draw a square maybe like this. Yeah, maybe something like this is good. That looks amazing. So this being said, now we can go up to our fill, just make sure it is a gradient as per usual. And you guys notice it's the same color gradient. We're also gonna go with the same kind of like light blue color scheme, but we're just gonna go with a few different colors, excuse me. All right, let's go ahead and work on this. So let's select the, where is it? Gradient fill. And we should be able to see these 2 points. And this is going to be quite the headache. Now just to be able to render everything, I'm just going to select all of these and just kind of make them visible. Just so that we can work on this thing and still get very good rendering, right? It's going to help us. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so the first thing we want to work on is we're going to start making the edges. This is where it's going to get confusing. Before we do anything, let's just add a lot of roundness to it. Like not a lot, but we definitely want to add some roundness. Maybe 80 is too much. 60. Yeah, even 60 is too much. Let's just go with 50. 50 is good. Okay, that should be okay. The overall shape of the square is a bit weird, but it should be fine. Yeah, it should still be okay. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and just see what happens. So first of all, let's make some cool gradients. The way we're going to do this is we're going to just put one in like this corner and then just go with like a gradient. We're going to make like a bunch of gradients all throughout. So we're going to go one that's over here on the right, one that's over on the left, and one that's in the top like left. So we're going to make 3 like over here. And then we're just going to make a huge one in the top left. Okay, so you'll see what I mean. So let's make the right side gradient, which would be something like this, basically. Yeah, let's first of all make sure that we change the blending mode to a add. Where do we do this? Over here. Just to make sure we don't see that black. And then let's just go ahead and smoothen this thing out. So it's going to take quite a minute. Yeah. This should be pretty good. There we go. That looks amazing. Now let's go ahead and duplicate this. And for our second duplicate, we're going to change the fill color to, let's just go with a lighter blue like this. And then for the lighter blue, we're just going to go with the bottom. So we're going to place this up at the top like this. And place this down at the bottom like so. And just kind of fiddle around with this until we have a pretty cool gradient. Something like this looks pretty good. Yeah, I think. Maybe we could blend it in a bit more. Like that. That looks pretty nice. And then let's go ahead and duplicate this one more time. And then finally change the final color to, since we went with a light blue, a teal, and a blue, we're going to go with something like a light blue one more time. Oops, not the black color. Let's go with like a darker blue maybe. Yeah, maybe darker blue is the way to go. And then we're just going to make sure that we get this thing right. So this thing is going to be on the right side. Like this. Awesome, there we go. And this looks pretty nice. And finally, for the last shape layer, this is going to be the nicest one. This one's going to be a very light, like washed out blue. So it's going to be a very lightish blue like this. Okay, and what we're going to do with this one is we're going to place the corner down here, and we're just going to have it take up like the top left. Okay, and the reason we do this is because this actually ends up making a very nice like page effect. You just want it to be very smooth like that, and that just looks super nice. Okay, so with this being said, let's go ahead and get the deep glow from all of these and just add it on all of these. So we're going to just go ahead and paste it onto all of these. And there we go. We're good to go. And all of these are 3D layers as well. So this is amazing. And let's just go ahead and parent all of these. So we'll parent them to each other like this. And we're going to get a nice and cool square. And now when we add this in the scene with the other two, everything looks really nice. So one thing I do notice is that it is too big. So I'm just going to tone it down to like 80. And I'm going to move it off to the left a little bit, which should look better. There we go. That looks amazing. So with this being said, let's now add in the contents. And the first thing I want to get to work on is the 3D cube rotation. And then we can finally get to work on our text and start kind of merging everything together. Okay, so with this being said, let's go ahead and work on the 3D cube rotation. This one's very easy. All we have to do is just add in a shape layer. Now for this shape layer, we're going to cut it up over to here. This should be good. And we're just going to basically draw out a square right here. Okay, this doesn't have to be in the center. This one, we're going to go with a solid color fill. Not going to go with any crazy stuff. And we're just going to try and place it in the center. First of all, make it a 3D layer and then place it over here in the center. Okay, and then we're basically just going to right click and pre-compose it. The reason we're going to do this is we can enter now the pre-composition and change this into an advanced 3D scene. And then we're going to add in 2 views. So let's add in, scoot this thing over to here. add in the second view, which is the custom view, and then we're just gonna bump up the geometry. So we're gonna go to extrusion depth, and we're gonna make it just as long as it is big. So this would be based on the scale. We're not gonna get a perfect, like the perfect amount. We could get an estimate. I believe it's around 270. And I think that's about as perfect as it gets. Yes, I believe so. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change the fill color to maybe we could go with a lightish purple like this. Or maybe a dark purple. I don't know. We'll see what we'll do. But for now, we're just going to make it a light purple like this. And this is just so that we can get the lighting. And then let's just make sure that the anchor point is in the center. Because now if we rotate it, we want to make sure that it's rotating around the center, right? We don't want it to rotate around anything else. So we're going to move the anchor point on the Z axis until it's in the middle, like this. The reason is when I want it to rotate, I do want to make sure that it's rotating around the center of the cube. Okay, awesome. And now all we're going to do is we're just going to like angle it at something like this. So we're going to angle it 45 degrees on this angle here, and 45 on here, 45 on here. And then we're just going to rotate it based on, we're going to leave this at 0, and we're just going to rotate it based on this angle. Yeah, so we're going to keyframe both the Y and Z rotation. And we're going to go to the end of this, and we're just going to rotate it a bunch of times. Like this, and rotate this a bunch of times. Like that. And that'll look really cool. So if we select both of these, and then F9, and we just have it start really quickly and then slow down, something like this would look really cool. Okay, awesome. And there we go. We've got a very nice scene set up. Now there's two things to make this look really good. We're going to do a main light and a second light. So we're going to add in a new light over here, and it's just going to be a spotlight of an intensity of 100. And this spotlight's going to help a lot with understanding how things are going. So you guys can see where the spotlight is. I'm just going to place it on the cube, go a bit higher, and then just angle it down. This is going to need the X. Okay, this is going to need the X value. So we're going to angle it down like so. And we're just going to kind of drag it over the thing. So just make sure that it is on top of that thing. There we go. Awesome. So we want this light to be, you know, on top of it like this. And for this spotlight, we're actually going to duplicate it, and we're literally going to do the exact opposite. So we're going to just drag it down, and we're now going to flip it upside down. So it's the exact same light, just upside down now. Okay? Keep dragging it down like this. And what this does is this creates a simple two light setup where there's one at the top and one at the bottom, and this just helps us highlight different edges of the cube and helps us see all these different corners. And this is going to look really cool. So for Spotlight 2, if you guys want to be able to see more, you can actually bring it forward over to here, and this will look even better. So this being said, if we go outside of this, you guys can see we have a very cool 3D cube spinning. Oh, there's no way we're going to render this. Okay. Like that. You guys can see we have a very cool 3D cube that's spinning. I think this color is really good as well, so we're going to go ahead and scale it down and just kind of leave it as it is. So I want it to be somewhere over here and just place it under all of our shape layers just to make sure that they are all on top of it. Awesome. Now the final thing you could do is just add a deep glow to this whole layer, which is just going to bring it more life, and then add it at like 0.4, which just looks amazing. Alright, we won't be able to render this, but yeah, there's no way we can render this. Alright, let's just give it a second. Maybe we can watch through it. But yeah, you basically end up with this, which I think looks awesome. Okay, so this being said, we're on to our final step, which is, so the box is done, the 3D object is done, now it's time for the titles. So for the titles, we're just going to right click, and it's going to be the easiest part. I'm just going to right click and add a text layer. The first thing you got to do is make sure it's 3D. Then you could type out, first we're going to type out a title. So let's just go ahead and type out a title like crypto. Make sure we're not using this font because I'll use this later. Let's write out something like cryptocurrency. Okay, and we're gonna just place this over here. So we're going to place it over here in the top left, like this. And I'm not gonna do any like fancy stuff with it. I'm literally just going to leave it as it is. I don't want anything like complex to do with this. Yep. Yeah, I don't want to make anything complex with this. I'm literally just going to leave it as it is. That's it. And then I'm going to duplicate this and bring the title down to here. And then we're just going to call it, let's just call it virtual coin or something like this. And we're going to scale it up till like here. And then maybe change it. No, we could just leave this. I definitely want to space it out a bit more, so we're going to add some more variation in between the letters, like that. Scale it down a little bit. Place it somewhere like here in the center. And let's just kind of move it down so it's kind of like a description. Let's move this 3D object up above a bit more. Yep, so it's kind of like in the middle. And then we're going to duplicate this virtual coin text, and we're going to double click and just change the font to gold script, which is like a artistic font. And then we're just going to call this something like currency. I don't know. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to place this in like the bottom right. Here you'll see what this means. We can place it somewhere like here. Scale it down a little bit. You know, place it somewhere like over here, just kind of overlap it like this. Now the problem is if they're both white, you can't really see this, but you'll see what we do as soon as we change this thing's color, this thing, right, to like a light blue, like this, and we just add a deep glow to it at 0.2. Then it looks really nice, right? And so this should kind of look pretty cool. Now for the word currency, I might even go with a purple color, since we went with a purple color here. Might go with a purple color here. Yeah, I think that's a pretty nice idea. And then we could just bring all of these down to here under this whole thing, and that looks amazing. Awesome, that's our scene setup for this last part. Let's go ahead and make these texts a bit nicer. We're going to add in the gradient tramps. So we're going to add in a gradient tramp to the word currency. Sorry, not the word currency, the word virtual coin. Set the start up here and set the end down here. And just make sure that the start is a white color and the end is like a grayish color. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It'll make it look really realistic. And then we're just going to copy this and paste it on the word cryptocurrency over here. Just make sure that the top is here and the bottom is here. And you are good to go. That just looks a bit more realistic, a bit nicer. And there's a few ways you can make this look even better, but I think that's pretty much it in terms of what you could do with this specific scene. You don't want to overdo it. We can add more of a purple over here, which I just think is going to look a lot better. So I think for the word currency, let's go with a brighter purple. Sorry, a more vibrant purple. Yeah, I think that just looks nicer. Awesome. And then virtual coin's good. Yeah, this whole thing blends in pretty nicely. Awesome. And now we can go ahead and get to work on the rest of it. So this kind of completes the scene setup. So everything is set up nicely now. We've got pop-ups. We've got the, the appearance of this last thing with a cool like 3D rotation. Everything looks really good. We can finally work on the number one, the camera movement, and number two, the reflection. Now, there's a few ways you could go about this. We can work on the camera movement now, and then we could do the reflection, or we could do the reflection first and then work on the camera movement. I prefer doing the reflection. Just because you can end up with more consistent results. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place all these on top of our shape coin. And I'm going to, since this is parented to this shape layer, I'm going to parent shape layer 7 to the currency to virtual coin to cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency to this shape layer. And I'm going to basically move all of it up here. Okay? Now the reason I'm going to do this, you guys will see why in just a bit. One moment, we ran into some issues. Okay, so I think that's an anchor point problem. Yeah, let's make this on. Let's just place it down here. So the reason we want to do this is because I want the reflection to start somewhere around here. Okay, so you might be wondering, how the heck do you do a really cool reflection? Well, basically all you have to do is just duplicate all the layers. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to select all of these, and we're going to click Control D and then just move them all to the top. Okay, and right click and pre-compose. That's it. Okay, I know it's confusing. Actually, you probably don't want to pre-compose. So I know it's a bit confusing, but you just have duplicated everything. That's all you've done. And even though it looks weird, just kind of bear with me for a second. Now all you have to do is you have to have one of these, right? So one of these duplicates, which is the bottom one, reflect off of the center to the bottom. And to do this, you have to have it follow a, you have to kind of have it kind of project on the bottom. You guys will see what I mean. But here's how I would do this. Like the simplest way to do it, you could do it afterwards as well. But let's say like all of these are parented to this one, to this specific pre-composition. Whatever I change about this pre-composition is going to change the rest of the layers. So I would click on the S, which is the scale, unlink it, and set this to -100. Okay, that's going to flip it. Now I don't want to flip it this way, I want to flip it this way, I think. Yes. And once I've done this, I'm going to click on P. And P already has the position changed, so I'm going to use my anchor point to do this, and I'm just going to move it down to here. Okay, and now we're just going to end up with a literal one-to-one duplicate of this first pop-up down here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to just have some space, just add a little bit of space. I don't want to add too much, I still want it to be pretty close. And then check this out, to basically make this hall look really good, to make it look 3D, you just go to your orientation and you literally just orient it on the x-axis like this, till it looks a bit more 3D, right? Till it looks like it's a surface. So this is what a surface would look like, and then just bring it down here. That's literally all that you would do. It's that simple. So that being said, we're just going to do the same thing to this one here. So once again, you could do the scale, unlink it, and then for this one's 200, so we're going to go -200, right? And then we're going to go orientation, and we went 289 with this one, so we're going to go 289 with this one as well. And we're just going to bring it down until we have the same kind of distance in between both of these, like so. Awesome. And then for this last one, this is the tricky one. We're going to go with this one. We're going to click on orientation, and we're just going to, this one is not a 3D layer, so I'm going to make this one a 3D layer, right? And we're going to orient it. We're first of all going to make sure that it's all being track matted. Sorry, tracked. So make it a 3D layer. Okay, so tiny problem we just ran into. We forgot to make this a 3D layer. So that's a mistake you guys can, make sure not to do. So I'm just going to select both of these and quickly fix it. To do this, we're just going to bring the position over to here. Bring the scale up. Bring it up. And then bring the position up here. And then just move it over to the right side a little bit, and we should be good. Like that. That's awesome. And then we're just going to make sure that we parent everything to that shape layer. Amazing. Perfect. Okay. So now for this thing, since this one's a duplicate, we're going to obviously make it the exact same kind of angle. So we're going to just bring it down here, and then we're just going to place it down here. And there we go. Now it's going to look a bit smaller, so we're going to scale it up. and you'll be good to do. So all that we've basically done is created this virtual reflection inside of our 3D space. It's basically all that we've done. And it looks really cool. Now the final step is to basically blend all of these together. So we're going to take all of this as it is, and we're basically just going to apply the effects to it, which make it look really blurry. So we're going to add an adjustment layer and place it under our duplicate. So this is only going to apply to all the reflections and not to the main duplicate itself. And then we're going to take the adjustment layer and we're going to add, first of all, let's start with a Gaussian blur. So you guys will see what we do. So we add in a Gaussian blur. And this is where it's going to be very difficult for the PC to render, but it's worth it. And we're going to bump this up to like 200. Okay, so that's going to blur it out. So I'm not sure what happened here with this thing. Let's go ahead and quickly fix it. It looks like we forgot to bring it down. Yeah, great. Cool. Okay, that should be better now. There we go. Now let's go ahead and add in, let's make this Gaussian blur. Maybe 200 is a bit too high. Let's go for 100. See how 100 looks. Even 100 is way too high, so let's just go for 20. Okay, you can also uncheck repeat edge pixels if you want. We'll see which one ends up being better. So 20 looks pretty solid. Maybe we could go even 30. Yep, 30 looks pretty good. Then we're going to add in the brightness and contrast effect. This is going to allow us to change the brightness. So we're going to select this and we're going to bring the brightness down by like -30. Maybe -60. Bit more, -80. There we go. And then we're just going to, now this looks like a reflection. Now we're going to make it wavy. So we're going to add in the wave warp effect, and this is what's going to make it look really cool. So we're going to add in the wave warp effect, and it's going to make it look really, really bad, first of all. So we're going to extend the wave width by a lot. You guys can see that looks a bit nicer now. Gonna extend it a bit more, and we're just going to drop the wave height to something like 3 or 4. It's going to make the waves really subtle. There we go. And then we're going to make the wave speed 0.5 because these are going to be actual waves. So now let's play around with this. Maybe -120. I want this thing to be really dark and barely noticeable. Maybe a bit more blurry, like 40. And yeah, -150. There we go. With a 50. Now we're talking. And this is what a high quality reflection looks like. Now when the pop-up happens, boom, right? The pop-up happens. Give it a moment. We can't really see it yet, but we'll be able to see the reflection in a second. I'm going to render this in like quarter just so we can render it out. Yeah, so pop-up happens. We might run into some issues here with the position. So let's just make sure that we delete this and move this thing back here. Like that. This second pop-up happens. Now this second one, we definitely are going to run into some issues with the position. Like this is the position that we want to be in. So let's just go ahead and use the anchor point for that. There we go. So we have pop-up 1, pop-up 2, and then 3 over here. And there we go. Now we can finally finish this off with our camera movement. So let's go ahead and select all of these. Let's just kind of leave them as they are. Let's close them down. And then let's add in a camera on top of all this. And this is going to be the final and easy part. So we're going to add in a one-node camera. Make sure it's on top of all our layers. Cut it over here. We're going to make a cut at 2 seconds, and we're going to make a cut at 4 seconds. For the first section, we're just going to render this at full. We're going to start this on the right side here. And we're going to start it, we're going to end it at this point, but we're going to start it further out. Like this, and we're just going to have it start quick and then slow down. So like this. Let's see, start quick and then slow down. Maybe this is not the best. Start really quick like that. That probably looks better. And then the same thing is going to happen over here. We're going to move the camera position over to the right side where our other square is. So we're going to keyframe the end position at this, and we're going to have it start a bit further out like this. Awesome. Boom, there we go, nice. Good stuff. So what do we have so far? We got pop-up 1, and then we've got pop-up 2. And then finally, we're going to have our last scene. And for the last scene, we're just basically going to start it zoomed in. So check this. We're going to start it relatively zoomed in, like that. Like this. And then we're just going to have it end way further out. Sorry. Like that. Right? Or even more. Like this is pretty good. Then we're going to select both of these and just have it start quick and then slow down. So just going to have it start quick like this. And then slow down. And this is how you end up with a very high quality 3D scene. So let's check out what this looks like in quarter resolution. Pop-up, pop-up 2, and then pop out. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for animation recreation number, whichever, I don't know what number it is. I'm going to make sure that I send this over to you guys as a project file right here. You guys can download it down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned a lot of cool 3D things. There's a lot of things to learn from this animation recreation. You guys have an amazing day. Make sure you post in the community if you have any questions, or if you did this, make sure you post it so I can review it for you. Thanks a lot for watching, and you guys have an amazing day. I'll see you next time.